Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinnie Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week for your listening pleasure. And my very special guests are Penny Bright, how long have you been a hardcore activist? Like basically since the Springbok tour, maybe a little earlier. She's officially listed by the State Intelligence Services on the list of subversives, so it's a good fit for the show. And Lisa Eyre, the creator of Lisa's Hummus, which is like nice, all organic and everything like that. And you told me one time that there's copious quantities of hoops you have to jump through, red tape and stuff of that nature that's involved with food preparation and having any kind of sizable business in this country, which, to my mind just kind of thinks to me like, that means that anybody who's just an ordinary bloke with a really good idea and so on and so forth, unless he's willing to jump through all of that and go through all the rigmarole, he won't even bother setting up his own independent, non-slavery type business. That's the problem with this country.
It's getting more difficult, Vinny. It wasn't so bad when I did it, because, I just started in my kitchen with no capital. But now it's much more difficult. The food bill, which is another of these harmonizing sort of laws to harmonize everything with US laws and this whole Pacific Rim, will make it much harder for people because the compliance costs are so high. In my day, it wasn't so expensive to jump through all the hoops.
And also,
when you're starting a business from nothing, you know, and you haven't got any money, you can't pay, $200 here, $1,000 there. You haven't got the money.
So just on that. A bit of my background, people probably don't know much about, is that I'm actually a tradesperson. I have advanced trade in sheet metal engineering. I was New Zealand's first ticketed woman welding inspector, and I was a quality assurance coordinator for a stainless steel fabricator. So I actually know quite a bit about stainless steel and the dairy industry, because I was a welding tutor for 9 years at Manukau Tech, and my specialty area was gas tungsten arc welding, TIG welding, of stainless tube for what was the New Zealand Dairy Welding Standard 4703. And of course, with all this Fonterra kerfuffle that's been happening, I was very, very interested into what caused this dirty pipe. Because in 1997, I got the award at the New Zealand Institute of Welding Conference. I was the only woman, and my paper, which was how to avoid welding defects in gas tungsten arc welding of stainless steel, got the award for the best technical paper. So I know a bit about the subject, and I was regarded as an expert. So I was just really interested to know, well, what caused this dirty pipe? And now, of course, the news is that they got it all wrong in the first place. But I did a bit of SWOT, and I discovered to my horror that the New Zealand 4703 dairy welding standard for stainless steel tube is no more. That in April 2011, it got transmogrified and swallowed up by a joint Australian-New Zealand standard. And basically, in terms of training, it seems that technical institutes don't actually train in this area. And because I have a quality assurance background, I know that the training of people to be able to do the job in a proper way is absolutely pivotal. So that really, really concerns me. So what I was considering doing was to make my expertise available to the 4 separate inquiries that were supposed to be happening into this Fonterra debacle, because there's a big difference between quality assurance and quality control. And it seems to me that these inquiries are all focused on the quality control, or how come it took so long to find out when this mistake happened. Quality assurance is to stop the mistake happening in the first place. And was there a bug trap as a result of a welding defect in this, because it will be stainless steel pipe? Was that the root cause? And is it because the fitters on the job out at the Fonterra plant have not been properly trained? Are they contract fitters? Are they in-house fitters? Do they know what they're doing? I mean, these are serious and practical questions, and it seems that nobody else is asking them. So
I'm not even aware, Penny, I'm not even aware what this Fonterra debacle that you're actually alluding to actually is.
Well, this thing that's caused a big dent in New Zealand's international reputation, the fact that there was a scare about this botulism, and were Fonterra milk products, particularly for infants, safe to drink? It's a big deal. And of course, what happened was there was this big scare and this big recall because they understood that it was caused by this botulism. And now what they're saying was, oh, sorry folks, false alarm, there wasn't actually this botulism in the first place. And meanwhile, we've had all this major panic. We've had countries that, have been blocking Fonterra imports. I mean, what a pig's breakfast. But I mean, so
I was under the impression that the melanine scandal was actually deliberately put into baby powder, and it was signed off by a Fonterra exec, and just said, yeah, let's just put this in.
Well, I mean,
that was the previous.
That was not this current. Was not this current debacle.
So it's happened again.
Well, this is the thing. It's important that you do things in a proper way. And if you do take common sense, due diligence, and make sure that you have proper plans and organisation in place, and then you have your quality control checks along the way to make sure that your overarching plan is actually being implemented, that's how you debug the job and make sure everything goes smoothly. It comes down to quality assurance, and that's the same with the GCSB. If anybody, that's the Government Security Communications Bureau, and if anyone has bothered to read the Rebecca Kitteridge report into the state of the GCSB, you would see, oh my God, what a pig's breakfast. I mean, a very covert organisation that deals with information, and it doesn't even have a proper information management system in place. And the devil's always in the detail, but when you bother to read this stuff, and given that I do have a quality assurance background, I just think, good God, as you would say, Vinny, you couldn't make this blank up. But that's it. It all comes down to quality assurance, having proper systems and organisations in place. Well, the GCSB is a pig's breakfast, and it's still not sorted.
It depends what you're actually trying to achieve, because it appears to me as though the GCSB director, who is responsible for spying on all New Zealanders, gets appointed by the Prime Minister, and then they approve the warrants with the Prime Minister's say so. So it just appears like a Stasi Gestapo headed by Mein Führer, basically. In essence.
Well, it is. It's very dodgy. But I mean, I actually, I've done a couple of things. I mean, because I thought that I might be one of the 88 New Zealanders unlawfully spied upon, I contacted the Office of the Prime Minister, and I said, okay, what's the process? To whom do I make a complaint? How do I find out whether or not I'm one of the 88 New Zealanders? And I was told from the Office of the Prime Minister to contact info@GCSB, contact the GCSB directly, because I thought, well, I contacted the Office of the Prime Minister because the Prime Minister's in charge. I thought, oh, well, I'll muck around. Well, do I go straight to the Prime Minister? No. So then I find out that the Office of the Prime Minister has given me an incorrect email because it bounced back. So then I contacted the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Now, a lot of people don't know that these are two quite separate roles, and they have quite separate functions. The Office of the Prime Minister, where the Chief of Staff, Wayne Eagleson, he's the bloke in charge there. It's basically like a party political side where they're supposed to cover the Prime Minister's national party butt, as it were, and they're not supposed to be the ones that answer Official Information Act requests. It's not the Office of the Prime Minister that's supposed to give the impartial advice. That is the job of the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. But here you don't have proper systems in place. It appears that people don't know their jobs, and that you've got this Wayne Eagleston, Chief of Staff, who is involving himself and a whole range of issues where, in my considered opinion, he should butt out because it's not part of his job description. And so anyway, cut long story short, what happened was the Department of the Prime Minister and Cabinet, they gave me the correct email for the GCSB. So I made a privacy complaint, and and I asked the GCSB directly. So I followed the due process as outlined. Well, a month later, I go round in a big fat circle, and then I get the official reply, we can't confirm or deny. So
well, that's a confirmation of sorts.
Well, but the thing is this, so I am not the only person. Apparently they were flooded with complaints or privacy complaints from people who thought they might be one of the 88 New Zealanders unlawfully spied upon. That process had not been completed in terms of the follow-through. I made a complaint to the Privacy Commissioner, and they are actively investigating my complaint. But because they've got bugger all staff anyway, and the fact is that they have even less staff because any staff from the Privacy Commissioner dealing with the GCSB must have security clearance, that narrows the number of people who can be involved. So before this GCSB bill was railroaded through Parliament, the complaints from people who thought they might have been one of the 88 New Zealanders involved hadn't finished going through a proper investigation. And guess what? The Rebecca Kittredge report, which outlined a whole stack of systemic failures by the GCSB, she came up with 80 recommendations to tidy themselves up. And 76 the GCSB was directly responsible for. Well, guess what? As of the 30th of June, Director Ian Fletcher admitted, and it's on the GCSB's own website, that only 25 of the 76 Kittredge recommendations had been implemented. So here's a brainy idea. We've got this intelligence service dealing with information. It's proven to be an absolute pig's breakfast. They haven't yet got their house in order. I know, let's give them even more power.
Yeah, so we can have a whole bunch of paranoid people who can violate everybody's privacy. Now, I'm also conscious of the fact that Lisa won't be with us for the full 2 hours. She's got a lot of thing on, and we're kind of taking up a lot of the talk time. Lisa, your take?
Well, I was going back to the milk powder that we were talking about. There's another aspect to that before you get to the stainless steel pipes. We had a big drought here in New Zealand over summer, and the farmers started importing feed. And the feed that they've been importing has had genetically engineered ingredients, probably soy.
Palm kernel.
Coming in. Sorry?
Palm kernel.
Yes, but that's not genetically engineered. The thing wrong with that is that it's destroying the rainforest in Indonesia.
Oh, yes.
But the genetically engineered ingredients, they are, of course, unbalanced. They don't work with the whole system of nature. So if you've got cows eating this and pooing this, it upsets the bacteria balance. And there are some vets in New Zealand who believe that the botulism scare, and it wasn't actually botulism itself, it was a bacteria that could cause botulism, that scare could have been caused by the imbalance of bacteria caused by feeding the cows genetically engineered food. So that's another thing that will have to be investigated, because they have come out in public, even though we haven't heard it on loud mainstream media. It is there. And this is part of New Zealand trying to have a clean green image. And then what happens is they import genetically engineered stuff from the US and bring it here and bring that imbalance into our natural system. So I'm quite up in arms about that aspect of it, as well as being very aware of the stainless steel aspects too, Penny. So I want to go back and just say, we talked about the events in New Zealand this Sunday, Kiwis Connect for a Positive Future. The website is kiwisconnect.org.nz. kiwisconnect.org.nz. And we've actually got a page there on transparency too, which refers to the things that Penny was talking about, and a page there on surveillance. But that's probably not quite as updated as I would like, but I seem to run out of time to do everything.
Yeah, it does happen that way, and we'll be coming to a break soon. And I find it very ironic that people are concerned about transparency in this country and claiming that there is none, the Prime Minister is not being transparent. I disagree. I see right through them. And the difficulty becomes, though, is that, as you were talking about earlier when we were speaking before Penny arrived, it's about awakening the masses. You can't do that unless you've got the mass media telling the truth. And they're just not doing it. They seem to be very cozy, very comfortable, doing their little crosscuts, glancing over issues, and not going in depth to the information that truly matters. And instead of letting the activists speak, they sum it up for them. That's not good. We'll be right back after the break. That anybody who's just an ordinary bloke with a really good idea and so on and so forth, unless he's willing to jump through all of that and go through all the rigmarole, he won't even bother setting up his own independent, non-slavery type business. That's the problem with this country.
It's getting more difficult, Vinny. It wasn't so bad when I did it, because I just started in my kitchen with no capital. But now it's much more difficult.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Vinny Eastwood Show, broadcasting live on AmericanFreedomRadio.com 5 days a week for your listening pleasure. And my very special guests are Penny Bright, how long have you been a hardcore activist? Like basically since the Springbok tour, maybe a little earlier. She's officially listed.
Nothing, you know, and you haven't got any money. You can't pay, $200 here, $1,000 there. You haven't got the money.
So just on that, a bit of my background people probably don't know much about is that I'm actually a tradesperson. I have advanced trade in sheet metal engineering. I was New Zealand's first ticketed woman welding inspector, and I was a quality assurance.
The food bill, which is another of these harmonising sort of laws to harmonise everything with US laws and this whole Pacific Rim, will make it much harder for people because the compliance costs are so high. In my day, it wasn't so expensive to jump through all the hoops.
And also
starting
by the State Intelligence Services on the list of subversives, so it's good fit for the show. And Lisa Eyre, the creator of Lisa's Hummus, which is like nice, all organic and everything like that. And you told me one time that there's copious quantities of hoops you have to jump through, red tape and stuff of that nature that's involved with food preparation and having any kind of sizable business in this country, which, to my mind just kind of thinks to me like, that means